Kingdom Money Talk. Again, it's another Tuesday. I'm excited to be able to, excuse me, to break it down, a couple few questions that most of you have been asking. And today we are at the question of the day. As you can see, it is a very simple question, but it's a very, very complicated and it's loaded. I'm going to do my best to keep it simple, real, and productive. Most of it is you can take it and apply it in your own life and measure the results as I share with you. We are talking about how much is really required to give as tithe and offering. This is the question that a couple few viewers have asked. And for that, let's get to work here. My name is Alpham Shahiri, and I am just going to facilitate you through this conversation and give you value that you can actually use immediately. And what we're talking about is kingdom finances, about people who are faithful doers. They live their life believing in some form of a God and in hope that they can apply those tools or they can seek guidance through in a godly way. I call it a spiritual manner. So it is how much is enough or is required of you to give as tithe and offering. If I before I answer that question, I want to ask you another question. If you go to a store and you are there to buy something of great value, a dress, for example, for an occasion that is valuable and meaningful to you, and you walk to that store with an intent of procuring such a valuable item as a dress for an experience, a moment that you are going to an event. How much will you pay for such a dress or a pair of shoes? How much will you pay? Can anybody give me that feedback? Comment and say, this is how much I'll be willing to pay. 100? 200? Will you pay 5% of your income? 10%? Or you will just charge the card and don't care and hope to recover that somewhere down the road, as many do? You keep thinking about that question. How much will you pay for that which is valuable to you? As you ponder upon that, then we're going to return to the question. How much will you then have to give your tithe and offering? Much has been said, and I've sat in the pews where I've been encouraged to give a particular percentage. A agreeable number is 10%. And most of you are very familiar. You're told, give God the tenth of your earning. And where is that story coming from? Who actually said that? The first time where a portion of a giving was quantified is in the story of Abraham. We know an earlier act of giving has been told in the story of Cain and Abel. But that story, it doesn't tell us the quantity, it tells us the value of that which is given. Abraham, on the other hand, we are told about he gave tenth of all that he had accumulated or collected to Melchizedek. That's very, very interesting. But Melchizedek is the one who has no father, no mother. That's what we're told. So scriptures had a tendency of giving us the meaning of things by describing it further. So in this case, when it says one without a father or mother is the meaning of Melchizedek. And the question is, who is this Melchizedek who had no father, no mother? We'll answer that question in a different conversation. It is this place where, for the first time, we are told the tenth was given. But as many has misconstrued that statement, have gone and parade and preach and speak and encourage people to give the tenth. In fact, I want to tell you, you have been lied all along, as I had before I learned what I'm learning today. Do not throw stones at me, but I'm telling you the truth. I'm here to talk about kingdom finances. How do you manage yourself to maximize that which you seek to experience in life. And most of it, so we have, as I had, gave my tenth and sometimes more in order to receive the blessings. Because in Malachi it is said, brings your tithing and offering into the storehouse. And guess what we're told is will happen? A roof will be open. There will be an overflow because you have brought that tenth or your tithe and offering to the storehouse of God. I'm just being realistic and honest in this conversation. Whether you like it or not, it is up to you. But I am telling it as I have learned it. I am practicing it every day. Where is the storehouse of God? Where is it? God is spirit. So the building that you're giving that tenth and whatever it is have nothing to do with the storehouse. If I want to go to a particular store, whether it's Macy's, whatever you name it, I would walk into that building and I will buy that which I buy from that particular store. So I know that is the store of that particular brand. But God is spirit. I'm not saying it, the book of John says. So therefore, there is no place he resides. There is no building he's confined. When we go into these places and say, this is the house of God, I understand if we say it's a house of worship because it makes sense. We go there to worship, but it's not the house of God. You are the very house of God. He said, I would dwell within you. And Apostle Paul said, the Spirit of God is within you. So, how do you quantify that the building is the house of God? So, if we can kind of understand and comprehend that in our mind, it changes the perspective. And there's nothing wrong with the building. It's a place where you gather and worship, just like people who goes to club. It is nothing wrong with the building. They go there and have fun and express themselves and socialize. And so it is the church, a place where you go to learn something, but it's a building, a place of learning, great, a place. But I'm just saying, it is not. You are the very house of God. You are the very temple of the God. So if you are the temple of God and you have to bring your tithe and offering to the storehouse of God, means you're not taking it there. It is you who you need to give it to yourself. The question, do you give yourself money or you give yourself something else? We go back to the very simple stories where this all began, the story of Abraham. We're told he gave tenth. But what does tenth really means in Hebrew? If I learn, I am from Tanzania, it's in East Africa. If you don't know where it is, it's in East Africa. We speak a language called Swahili. If I am writing something in Swahili and then you translate it in English, if you want to understand that what I wrote, you have to understand what it means in Swahili first. Simple. You can translate anything, but to make sense of that which is written, it's first you got to understand the culture. And that makes sense. So in Hebrew, tenth means divine completion. Asa, it means divine completion. That's the tenth. It's a divine completion. What is a divine completion? In fact, other scriptures are informing us. We're told they brought an animal without speck, an animal who is not deformed, an animal without mark. It means that it is pure, it is without impurity. So, what does that really mean? And actually, the story of Abel further elaborates on the subject. It teaches us that what one gave, what was given without pure, which was clean, and God accepted it. So the tenth that you Abraham we're told gave, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about possession. What he accumulated, you have accumulated a lot of ideas. You have told you don't qualify for this, you don't qualify for that. You are not worthy. You cannot make it. Money is hard. Things are difficult. All of these are things you have accumulated in life as ideas. What are you bringing to the storehouse of God? What are you actually speaking to yourself? Because you are the temple that the Spirit of God dwells. So you give not by material to God, you give by actually doing something very simple. You give by actually entertaining ideas and thoughts that are consistent with your intent. When you say, I want financial freedom, I want to live life in a way, in a manner that makes things possible for me. That's what you say. But then you say, I do not qualify. You have brought a gift that is doubted because you bring doubt and hope at the same time. They cannot mingle. It's water and oil. And that's what it really means when he says about the tenth. It means that if you want to be financially well, just believe you are financially well. Speak to yourself as if you're financially well. That is the giving Malachi speak of. He said, bring that giving and don't add other junks or the economy is bad. I didn't get educated. I didn't come to a family that has. You start adding things that the animal is spotted. So you are speaking, you are bringing unworthy tithe and offering. That is the real meaning of what the scripture is teaching us to give. If what you have been told all along is what you should give, I will tell you, the church will be the wealthiest place in the world because there are many people who are faithful tither, but they are broke. I grew up in a place very close to a church that these guys, I mean, this church, these people lived in a church. They give everything they had. They sell their land. They give it all in the name of God. But they are the most broke people I've ever met. And they give everything, so they have nothing. And there's nothing that is happening in their lives. Not because they're bad people, they're hardworking women, men. But because they're giving the wrong thing, they give as Cain. They give raw material, and God is spirit, and He is not a respecter of a person. So you are doing, your actions, your giving have nothing to do with God. But that which is asked of you to give is the quality of thinking and feeling. Because God is spirit, can only entertain or can receive that which is spirit. And that's why Jesus made this statement. That which you do in secret, there is no other secret places than here. That which you secret, my Father in heaven sees it, and He will make others to testify of that. So if you're entertaining thoughts that are contradicting your financial goals, I don't care who financial guru comes and teach you. You will never experience the breakthrough because Apostle Paul tells us transformation is a product of a renewal of the mind. Romans 12:2. If your mind is not renewed, meaning that is not giving to God, which is spirit, consistent with the pure nature. When I'm talking pure, I'm not saying something fine. I'm talking completeness. And so there is a very contradicting statement that Jesus made. Many people have been confused when he says, your faith as little as a mustard seed. Many thinking it's about the smallest aspect of it. The scriptures speaks about the quantity. Mustard seed is not confusing itself with an orange seed. It knows itself to the core that it is a mustard seed. How much small it is, yet it knows to be a mustard seed, and it only produces mustard. That is actually what the scripture there is teaching. So you are thinking, if you say you want financial freedom, you want to be able to meet your financial obligations, guess what? That idea has to be the only idea that matters in your mind. You pay no mind, no attention to any other discussions. And in that manner, I guarantee you, as the word have promised, that it will open the doors of heavens, you will experience an overflowing of financial freedom. That is truly the way you give your tithe and offering to God. So, shouldn't you give tithing or whatever you want to call it, an offering to the house of worship that you go every day? We go back to the question I asked you earlier. And the question was, if you have an event that you're invited and you have to you want to show off, or you want to show, or you want to appear in a particular character and manner, you walk to a store of your choice and you find that dress, how much will you be willing to pay for the dress? How much will you be willing to pay for that pair of shoes? Of course, depending on your financial capacities and how serious this event is, and many other factors will factor in. Maybe you have a credit limit, you have an American Express Gold Card that says you can spend as much as you want, as long as you pay at the end of the month. So you will go in and spend all that you could based on your capacity. That's the true meaning. Isn't that the fact? Most of you do this and you go and shop and spend. You buy based on what you think it's worth. You are the very determinant of the value that you can spend. Keep in mind, I just want to be clear, this has nothing to do with a church that you should give tithe and offering, because I don't want people to throw stones at me on this presentation. I'm just giving you information, because when you have information, you are enriched on your actions. You know, you become the judge. How many years have you been giving to a church, and yet you have not seen that store, that heaven open? And there are some of you might say, I have seen it. But if you look deeper, it was not because you gave the tenth, because you entertain ideas that were wholesome and complete. You believe on what you were doing. You believe on your business. You believe on your career. You knew that things are working out in your favor. I know somebody who is very successful in sales industry. She's an amazing, and I admire every day. But her success in sales, no matter where you put her, she will sell. It's not because she gave the tenth. It's because she believes in her ability. She knows she goes there to solve a problem, and she knows she has the ability and the capacity to solve it by the product she's selling. And so, therefore, because she believes in it, according to your belief, it is given to you, not according to the tithe and offering. So, in an essence, now you know. Give to the church, give to the mosque, give to an organization, whatever that your interest is, where you get value. You give based on the value you get. So if you're getting value from the church you're going, guess what? Give without feeling, oh, is this enough or not? Give because you want to give. You're like, man, I like my pastor. I want my pastor to live a certain comfortable life because he or she inspires me to also do the same. So therefore, I'm gonna give this much. I'm gonna give that much and give it joyfully. Don't give it because, oh, if I give, that's when I'm gonna succeed. No, give it because you know you have more than enough. That's a belief. To say that I have more than enough is the belief in itself. And if you remain persistent in that belief, guess what? The secret is that which you do in secret, which in your mind, whatever thought you're entertaining, it's reflective. The world will testify to you. That's what the scripture says. I am not making it up. The scriptures tells you that. The world will always testify, or the world always testifies that which you have kept entertain and play with in secret. So today I hope I have added a little bit, and it might be controversial, and some of you might feel differently. It makes no difference to me. I'm just telling you what the scripture says, and the scripture says you give the tenth, and you give the tenth in Hebrew. Look what Hebrew tenth means. It's divine completion. Number 10 is the divine completion number. So when you're giving, and you gotta give it in spirit. Jesus said, I mean, there's a scripture that says, those who comes to Father must come in spirit and in truth. Spirit, the word spirit have multiple meaning. One of them is life, but another one is feeling. So how are you feeling when you're giving when you're spending money when you go to the store. I used to go to the store and I look at the stuff. I'm like, oh, maybe this is expensive. Oh, and when I'm paying, I'm like, oh, you kind of feel a pang in your heart. And I was talking to a client the other day, and she was telling me for years she had that struggle. She struggled with it. She will go and spend money, but she feels something. And she heard some of the conversation I was making, and she's like, you know what? I started, she had a business that was not going nowhere. She'd been making the same amount from that business for years because she had two clients only. They were sufficient to kind of just manage by, but she would have loved to grow it, but she couldn't. Every place she seeking as a contract, nothing was happening. When she learned this secret and applied it in her life, she started going out. When she spent things, she wasn't looking for price. She was looking for value. It's different. Poor people, meaning people with limited mindset about money, they look for price. I'm looking for a deal. But people with a mentality of wellness, more than enough, of abundance, whether they have that or not, but that idea is that which drives them. They look for quality. That's the difference. Quality versus price. So this lady, she was price conscious. And every time she spent, she felt something. Even when she had enough money to spend on it, but she still felt something. When bills comes, it's like, oh, this another bills. She talks to herself in her mind. But when she learned this technique, she applied my 3I framework, which is I use it in my classes, where in order to bring that structure on how you transfer your way of tithing and offering to be more whole, complete, as the scripture demands. So she applied this technique. First, she is called you have introduced, idealized first. So she idealized, she looked at her budget. She said she need to earn a certain amount of money in order to A, to pay her bills, B, to move to a new home, C, to increase her businesses. So she identified that through the idealization process. Then she now gave that ideal to the storehouse, which is to say, I am wealthy. I am financially capable. She started speaking it as if and walking as if. And when she went to the store, she reminded herself, it is not about price, it's about the value. And she was value, and she will remind us, I can afford to buy for value. I can afford to spend for value because I am a child of God. So she, her daughter of God, she called herself. And she repeated these statements each and every time she was spending money. Within 30 days, in fact, she came and reported a different story. She's like, suddenly she got a call from multiple businesses that wanted her business to service their businesses. And she found herself in plenty of money. She did not give the tenth to the church. Of course, she was going to church. She gave whatever she wanted to give, and she gave it freely because she knew the pastor. She grew up in that church, so she was giving for the historical purpose. That's what she was doing. She said, "I was giving to the church for historical purpose, not because then I feel obligated because God demands me to give to the church." No, she understood the church have to have the light. She understood the building have to be maintained. She understood people's salaries got to be paid. So to support all of that, she gave because she could, not because God demanded her. That's a different perspective. And now she even now gives more than what she could because her business has flourished. And many churches who can embrace this understanding, they will see a significant increase. Don't demand people to give the tenth. Empower people to increase their value in what they earn so they come and give freely. This lady, she's giving freely. She's giving more than 3 times what she used to give. And she's not doing the 10% thing anymore, but she's always constantly giving to God by thinking wholesomely, positively. She last time I spoke to her, she's like, just things have drastically changed in her life. And this is a true pattern over and over throughout this history. A person who does not go to church, doesn't care about church, doesn't believe on God, but as long as he or she maintain a giving attitude of that which she wants. He said, bring Give, and the scripture says, give, and it shall be given. What do you give? You give to God that which is spiritual. He said, those who come to my Father must come with spirit, in spirit and in truth. Truth is about that which you remember. What do you remember? You remember the pain, the struggle, the broken bank account, the credit report that is poor. I've been there. And there was a time I gave everything I could. I remember one time I heard this preacher talk about God has told him that people who are going to give $1,000 going to see their breakthrough. It happened, I was going through some difficult time, and I looked at the bank account. I just turned that TV, and that preacher, who was nothing but, I'm sorry, but I call it a scammer. That's what he was. He was sitting there propagating things that have no meaning because he knew nothing. Not because he wanted, maybe because he had no knowledge of it, he was not wise of it. So therefore, but I was one of those people. I listened, I'm like, oh my God, I just turned this TV. And so this guy is talking. It must be God talking to him. And I went and looked at bank account and I saw we had about maybe $1,200 left. We had bills over maybe $10,000 worth of bills a month. And my business was not generating that kind of money at the moment. Things had gone worse each and every month. And no matter how much money I gave, no matter how many days I prayed, I cried, we fasted and cast the devil and the kevo and everything that we could cast, we did. Sprinkle oil everywhere, none of that. There was a spirit of fear in me. That's what the fact. So no matter what I gave could not bring back because there was a spirit of fear that I was afraid that maybe things going to get worse because I've seen the worst already. A business that was thriving and successful, suddenly things started drying up to a point where I started letting people go left and right. And my giving, all the giving I was giving couldn't help. I went to see financial advisors. They advised me, stop giving, stop paying your bills, taking care. And I'm like, you guys are devil. But they were the wisest people I could ever heard. So I took $1,000 that was left in the bank account. I told my wife, this must be God. Some of you probably have done that, whether it might be 50, 100, but that's all I had. And I remember that scriptures about that Jesus talked about this lady. She gave all that she had. She gave a penny, whatever it was. And I'm like, I am that lady in the scriptures. I was just beaming with my teeth were out in my own mind. And I gave that $1,000. And he said, God is going to bless you. God is going to add on you. And oh my God, I waited and I waited. The only thing happened, I lost the car, I lost the house, and we had to find to go and move on with a family member. An embarrassment. And I struggled for a while. Yes, when I learned this technique, I learned this truth, start cultivating a giving attitude of thanksgiving. See the difference there? So I started cultivating, it had nothing to do with church, it had everything to do with me. Because be mindful of this. Let's take an example. A person lives in a place where there is no church. So what are they going to do? God is going to punish them because they have no place to go for a church? What about people who are not Christian? God is going to punish them because what kind of a God do you guys think you have? You must have a wrong God. My God is not a dictator. The God I know is very loving, gentle. It's not a person, it's a spirit. And he's not a respecter of a person. So it's not what I do physically, it's what I do mentally. So I would encourage you as I wrap this up, as you go about, and if you came the last minute here, I just want to tell you, we're talking about how much is really required of you to give to the church. And the answer is, it depends on you. I gave an example. If you go to a store and you want to buy a quality dress because of an event that you're attending, how much you'll be willing to spend? Will you go to a cheaper place and spend less? Or will you go to a quality one? So if you're looking for a particular brand, would you just buy a knockoff or you buy one that actually really is? The choice is yours. Nobody should hold you hostage, and you should not allow anybody to lie to you, because I allowed many times to be lied. But I don't think if those people who were lying to me were intentionally, they misconstrue the Bible. Truly, yes, church, actually, back in the days, according to some of the research I did, it used to be called church tax. That's what it used to be called, a church tax. It wasn't being called tithe and offering. It was a tax the church charges you for going and spend time in their pews. And it was reasonable because guess what? In order for them to charge you the tax, because they needed that money to maintain the order, the cleanness, and everything else, there's nothing for free. So don't go to church. You're attending there every Sunday, every whatever day you're attending, and you just go there and consume the pews and not giving a contribution. They didn't charge you at the door. When you go to an event, football events, basketball events, or whatever sports events or social events, entertainment, they charge you at the door because they don't trust you. I'm not talking about you because you guys are trusted. I'm talking about somebody else. They don't trust, so they say you got to pay at the door. The church, on the other hand, said we're going to be gentle. Come in and hear to what we say, and guess what? You like what you're hearing, give us something. So I recommend that if you're attending there, you sat on that pew, somebody cleaned it. That guy who's speaking or that girl that is speaking out there, she or he need to feed their family. So guess what? Contribute consistent with your interest. If the value is high and you're gaining something out of it, give more. Forget about the tenth that they're telling you. That's a mentality of poverty. There's an organization that way back when me and my wife got married helped us a lot. And guess what? To this day, and it's a donation place. To this day, when we just go around the house and say, I didn't wear these clothes for maybe in the last 2, 3 months, it's going for donation. I don't care what kind of a dress it is, how quality it is. My wife does the same. We pack. Sometimes we fill up the car and drop at their doorstep. Guess what? We don't give and say, oh, this is a 10th. Oh, is this enough? Oh, no, no, no. We give because we have. And we continue to declare so because we want to continue to increase in our ability to meet our obligations and live life according to our own terms. Because it is God's plan for me, for my wife, to prosper. And I know it is for you as well. So I hope you've gained something today. And for that person who asked these questions, I hope you were able to attend and get the value you need. Today, do not ask you again, should I give this or should I give that? Start learning to cultivate thoughts that will promote the value that you are looking to have in life. As Apostle Paul said, if you have to think of that which is happy. Don't think, is it happy? Do I qualify to be happy? No, 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 no. If you want to be happy, financially successful, that is the type of thinking you need to have. When you do so, your life will change, my dear. I guarantee you. I have tons of stories. I can share you my own story, but it's my story. I can be biased. But there's stories of many others who heard the same thing you're hearing. Yes, some of them, they were like a little bit questioning because they're so tied up to this. I got to give the 10th. And I asked him, how long? There was a guy I was talking to. He was like, I believe in God. I don't believe anybody else. I said, but did God tell you to give the 10th? Or did your pastor tell you to give the 10th? Oh, you don't understand. I've been going to church for almost 30 years. I said, so what is an issue that you're having financially then? If you've been going for 30 years and you've been giving tithe and offering for 30 years and you're still broke, something is wrong because Jesus said, you will know them by their fruits. And your fruit is brokenness. You got to change the seed. I do that every time. Just the other day, I was engaging in something, that could have returned a handsome return for me. Everybody else that I know got a handsome return. And I look at my portion, I'm like, what happened? Well, they got way more, and I wasn't happy. But guess what? I couldn't fault the people who had a bigger return. All I did is I went and looked at my own self and I said, what was on my mind? What type of offering I gave in my mind pertaining to this situation? And I discovered that as much as I wanted a maximum return as many had, there was an element of fear because it was a new territory for me. And I have seen my partners be wounded from those events. And because they were wounded, guess what? I became fearful as well. I remember, Jesus said, come to my Father in spirit and in truth. The word truth in Hebrew there, one of the meaning is to remember. That's the truth. To remember. So I remember the pain. I remember the fallout, even though I wanted the success. And guess what? Because I gave fear, I got mediocre portion. I was not happy, but I couldn't blame the people who were succeeding. I recognized, and so therefore I went back and adjust my thinking. I adjusted my mood, and I kicked the butt of that fear, if I can use that word. I just took and I'm like, fear, get out of here. I didn't use those words, but that's kind of the act I did in my mind, and start cultivating confidence that I too, I am a winner. I too, I am successful in this area. I too, I am earning a handsome portion of that which I go after. Yes, it was just the other day. And you can say, Alpha, did anything change? But guess what? My mood have changed. I feel great. I can smile. I feel very confident. And that confidence is growing every single day. So, but I have to continue to give the 10th a completeness. And that's how you do. If you find yourself in a place where you are confused, you want help, or anything else, all you gotta do is type below finance. And I will share with you some free resources that will kickstart your journey. And if you don't get what I said, it didn't make sense, and you have questions, feel free to ask. And when you do so, I will do my best. I review these every week so that I can respond. And sometimes that's how I get the messages where I share with you. But in all, I welcome you to go and give freely according to your heart. But most important, when it comes to your affairs and finances, give not according just freely. Give it intentionally. Give it consistent with what you want to experience. If the experience you are seeking is financial freedom, give according to that. Prophet Joel said, he said, let the weak say, I am strong. So borrow from that. I hope that information has been useful. Again, feel free, put the word finance, and I got you. I'll share with you something that is valuable that will continue to further this journey. Until then, I want to say thank you. It is truly an honor to have the opportunity to share with you in this event. It's something that I dreamed of, hoped for, imagined about, and gave it accordingly. And being able to sit here and have some of you just joining in and out, it is quite a joy and an honor for me. So thank you very much. Your time is valuable and I appreciate it. And I apologize. There are some people said I want to join to be able to join in this conversation as guest. I didn't want to create a circus, but if you truly want to kind of join me in this conversation or even this topic, we can further continue it. Please drop me just a message, join, and I will reach out to you separately. And next time when I show up live, I will have you as the guest. Hopefully that makes sense. And go about your day. Give according to your interest. And your interest should always be that which you desire to experience. Do not underestimate yourself. Do not devalue yourself. You deserve the best. You are the best. And so, therefore, always think the best of yourself. In such manner, you are giving the 10th, that which is acceptable before God. Thank you very much.